Hi, my name is Kirk Barbera, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about booktales.org and what it is that we do here. And to do that, I actually wanted to briefly read an actual book tale, which are presentations of the best stories from non-fiction books. So you don't have the time to read the thousands of books that are out there. So at booktales.org, we take out the best stories, attach a little lesson from the book, and present it to you in a short 15 to 20 page document. We also do them in audio form, and there's a lot of free tales that you can find at www.booktales.org. And I wanted to explain briefly the impetus for booktales.org, and a lot of it comes from Ed Catmull, the president and founder of Pixar Animations. And I'm going to actually read something from his book and one of the very short stories. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes, I think, to read the actual short story. And the story is from Ed Catmull's book, Creativity, Inc. And what I wanted to get across and what the story really reveals is the importance of getting the right kind of advice. So you get a lot of advice, if you're starting your own business, if you want a promotion at work, or you just got a promotion at work and you're not quite sure how to make sure that you're doing the right job, or you feel a little bit inadequate and you go out to look for advice. People give you advice, your boss gives you advice, your mom gives you advice, your dad gives you advice. There's advice in thousands of books and articles and blogs, and sometimes it's hard to find the right advice. Well, Ed Catmull, founder of Pixar, has the definitive aspect, definitive knowledge of what kind of advice to take and what kind of advice not to take. And most of the advice you should not take, according to Ed Catmull. And so let me read the little phrase from Creativity, Inc. to kind of tell you or show you what he's talking about. Now, Pixar, if you're not aware, was formed in the late 70s, and it was purchased by Steve Jobs in the 80s. And when Ed Catmull was actually promoting their first product, which was an imaging computer to be sold mostly to production companies. And here's what he says. He just got started as the president. He's actually an academic, not a big business person. And he says, not knowing where to turn to solve many of the problems I faced as the president of a newly formed company, I turned to books. For instance, I bought Dick Levin's Buy Low, Sell High, Collect Early and Pay Late, The Manager's Guide to Financial Survival, which was a popular business title then. I devoured it, he says, in one sitting. He goes on and says, I read many such books as I set about trying to become a better, more effective manager. Most I found trafficked in a kind of simplicity that seemed harmful in that it offered false reassurance. These books were stocked with catchy phrases like dare to fail, or follow people and people will follow you, or focus, focus, focus. This last one was a particular favorite piece of non-advice. When people hear it, focus, 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 they've been diverted. They nod their heads in agreement as if a great truth has been presented, and not realizing that they've been diverted from addressing the far harder problem, deciding what it is that they should be focusing on. There is nothing in this advice that gives you any idea how to figure out where the focus should be or how to apply your energy to it. It ends up being advice that doesn't mean anything. These slogans were offered as conclusions, as wisdom, and they may have been, I suppose, but none of them gave me any clue as what to do or what I should focus on. So this is critical. We get so much advice in the business networking world, or all these hype men out there telling you how to get advice. And I take the approach, and my view and philosophy is, don't take advice from hype men, don't take advice from me. Take advice from Ed Catmull. So I'm going to read a brief story from, if you don't have time to continue watching, go to www.booktales.org, and you can read or listen to this tale at your convenience under the free Tales tab of booktales.org. But if you have a second, this tale is called Pixar's $122,000 mistake, and the lesson is only listen to advice that spurs asking very hard questions. Okay. When in 1986, an academic took his seat as president of a newly formed computer hardware company, he soon realized that he had absolutely no idea what he was doing. The academic, Ed Catmull, had also worked in the computer graphics department of George Lucas's company Lucasfilm, which provided Ed with a large Rolodex of informants and knowledge workers in the industry. Like many people who find that they are in over their heads professionally, he contacted the more successful individuals he knew to seek out their advice. Luckily, Silicon Valley was small at that time, and Ed had in his Rolodex a who's who of the mega successes in the Valley. At first, he kept it simple, merely asking them how to select the correct price to charge for his new machine. It was an early imaging computer, mostly for film production houses to use in enhancing their films. None other than the presidents of Sun Microsystems and Silicon Graphics responded and informed Ed that he had to start with a high number. Whatever number he chose, high. The logic, which is still propounded by many today, was that you can always reduce the price. Customers reduce the price, but if you start low and needed to raise the price later, you would upset your clientele. Ed calculated the cost and the profits they hoped to make and decided to charge $122,000 per unit. Disaster struck. His hardware unit, the Pixar image computer, gained a reputation that would stick in the minds of customers for years. Even after lowering the price, customers still said it was a powerful but overpriced machine. Pixar could not get rid of this reputation. The advice Ed had received was logical, it was true, it was sound. The presidents who gave the advice had used it successfully themselves, yet it proved counterproductive. Ed learned a valuable lesson. The advice he was given served as a hindrance to asking the right questions. He was receiving sound advice, but in the form of a simple answer to a complex question. As the head of a newly formed company with a new technology, he should have been asking more challenging questions. How could the company meet customer expectations? What software should the company invest in so that those companies that did purchase a product could use it more effectively? From here, he could have developed a more accurate estimate of what price customers would be willing to pay for this relatively untested supercomputer. The advice he had received sounded too good to be true. It was alluring because it was easy to hold in his mind. Price it high. But rather than take the time to think through the more challenging issues, his mind only held price high. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed hearing that. And if you wanted to get more and hear more about Creativity Inc., and there's actually several tales from this amazing book, Creativity Inc., Overcoming the Unseen Forces That Stand in the Way of True Inspiration by Ed Catmull. You can go to www.booktales.org and you can actually sign up to get into the library access, or you can actually go to Free Tales and you can get a lot of the tales for free there if you prefer. So thank you very much and have a great day.